so thrilled to have you back here again today. My name is Ashley Dawn, and I would love to dive into a topic today of personal power and empowerment. So if this is something that is already interesting to you, please like and subscribe below. I absolutely love your support. Okay, let's jump on in. So I want to preface this with the fact that power has come up several times in the last week in books that I've read, in sessions that I've done with clients, and different just messages and meditation. So I felt like when I see these patterns, it's a message and information for myself as much as it is important for me to often share. So I don't always share everything with you guys. Some of the information, it just needs to have the right timing and things like that. But this is definitely one I channeled, talked to my guides about, and they also wanted me to kind of share this with you. So I am very excited to do so and honored to do so. So the first thing I need to explain is the word power has a little bit of a negative connotation, but power is neither good nor bad. It is a neutral word and has a neutral meaning. And what I mean by that is that we can use power, electricity in a very literal sense here, to heat up our food or our houses, but we can also use electricity to heat up a person until they die, right? So it is not necessarily good or bad. It is how we use power that really, really matters. And so that was the message that kind of came up several times, and what I really wanted to express to you guys, and how to transition the meaning of this word to something more positive and more beautiful and something that resonates with you. When somebody holds power over somebody, or when somebody holds power over a situation, right? It's leaning towards that negative side. And when somebody is powerful, what that also implies is that they are bigger or better than others around them, or what have you. So both holding power and being powerful kind of have that negative connotation, and neither of them come from a place of source or love. That's from a place of ego, and in fact it's from a place of fear. To hold power means that you've got your talons in something and you're trying to control it, right? When you have recognized your own divinity and your own light within, you don't need to control anything. You don't need to keep your talons in anything, right? You look at somebody, and even when they are acting out or lashing out or reactive, right? We look at them and we see a part of ourselves. We recognize ourselves within them. We send them love and light. We completely understand that they are on their healing journey. They just haven't quite discovered some of the things that I'm going to talk about, right? And so we don't need to control. We don't need to react. We don't need to respond to them at all. We can just literally send them love and light and say, peace be with you, my friend. I hope you discover what it is that you're looking for, right? So when we recognize our own power, right, this power within us, this is how we connect to our divinity, the light within us, our soul, our higher selves, our guides, our angels, right? This is how we honor ourselves. And by doing that, you can't possibly hold power over yourself, because you're yourself, right? That doesn't make sense. And you can't possibly be more powerful than yourself, because you're you, right? So my point is that this internal power is something magnificent. It is something beautiful. It's like a firework of love and compassion and gratitude within you, right? And so I don't want anyone to be held back by the concept of power being something that is negative, because when it's used properly, it's amazing, right? It's amazing. So let me kind of dive in a little bit more. This personal power and this power within you cannot be given by anyone else. We often go searching for it though, don't we? Gosh, we do. We go searching for it in all the wrong places, right? We can read tons of books. We can take tons of classes. We can do all these things, and those are fantastic tools. Some of them I actually do myself. I teach and I share, right? This video is a perfect example, right? Those are wonderful tools. But when we have all those tools in front of us, if we do not choose to take action, to recognize our abilities and our gifts, to take those steps forward, we are not standing yet in our power. We just are learning a lot of information, which can be helpful, but it's pointless unless you decide to actively embrace it, to actively use your personal power, right? This personal power is your divine truth, right? And by actively taking steps, using the tools that you have, changing things within you, changing your diet, changing the relationships and people around you, setting positive and healthy boundaries, drinking more water, taking classes and learning all of those things collectively. And when you actively do these things, you actively start changing your negative self-talk in your brain, right, to something more positive. These are all ways that you stand in your divinity. You take a hold of your personal power, right? The other thing is that since it can never be given to you, it can never be taken away. It cannot possibly be taken away because it is you. It is a part of your divinity, right? The only way it can be taken away is if we allow it. Is if we allow it to be taken away. We have to give it away, right? We have to actually give it away. It can't be taken, right? So how do we do that, right? This is when and this happens with us all that are empaths. A lot of times this happens with healers as well. Mothers is another good example. We pour so much of our time and energy and attention to a person or a job or a place or situation, right? We just unconditionally pour ourselves into it. And by not having those healthy boundaries set, we are then depleted, right? We are then depleted of our energy, our time, our attention, or even patience, right? And that actually ends up really hurting us. And so by giving our power, all of it away to something else, we are felt left empty and depleted, right? And that doesn't serve us. That's actually quite unhealthy. And so there is this fine line between where we find our divinity, we find our personal power, and we want to embrace it and nurture it and hold on to it. We can easily give out energy and positivity and love and conditioning, or compassion, but we do not have to give away our actual power, right? That's for us. That's how we connect to our higher selves, right? So I like to point that out because myself included had to learn the hard way, and I'm sure a lot of us have, that there's a difference between giving out energy, giving out a time and attention, and then depleting ourselves to the point where we're actually giving our power away, which is not healthy, right? So now I want to talk about the act of that personal power. When we take action on our personal power, like again, eating healthier, meditating more, and doing what really serves us and brings us joy, that is standing in our truth, right? This is how we feel empowered, right? Feeling empowered means that you have consciously made decisions to take ownership of your health and wellness, to take ownership of those boundaries and set them properly, to fill your time and energy and brain with all of the classes and knowledge that you think are going to benefit you. This is all about growth and advancement. This is about your awakening. This is about your shift. And when we realize that we have the control and ability to do that, that means we just confirmed and validated that we have the ability as human beings to create our own reality. That is empowering, right? That is fantastic. So to hold personal power is when you realize that there is something within you that is greater than you, that you're connected to everything else, right? And then to feel empowered is when we take those actions towards that growth, right? And both of those are so amazing. This is how we connect. This is how we grow, right? And there's so much shifting. I have had so many people reach out to me lately because they want Reiki classes. They want Reiki healing. They want mediumship. They want to do work on shadow work. They want to connect with their guides, right? We're in a time, a very special time right now of year where the veil is thin. This means the veil is, I'll explain that really quickly. The veil is the lines between realities, between past lives, between future lives, between us and the higher frequencies, us and the realm in which our past loved ones are, all of these little lines that keep us all separated are very, very thin. And so I need you guys to understand that you will be experiencing more dreams. You will be experiencing, more psychic abilities, more intense medium or meditation sessions, more intense healings. These are all things that are going to start happening within the next several months, okay? And I want you to find your personal power. I want you to be empowered and really take on those things. Watch for your triggers. I talk about those a lot. Watch for your triggers. Look for those patterns because they're going to have a red flag stamp. That's your way of your guides pointing out to you where you need to do your healing work, where you need to do your shadow work, right? But embrace those because those weigh us down a little bit. And as we become more empowered and as we find and stand in our divinity and truth, it's time for us to let go of some of those things, right? So another thing that my guides wanted me to explain about this is as light workers, so I'm talking more specifically to the light workers, as we develop ourselves, as we develop in every way, we turn on our light, right? We turn on our light. We recognize that light within, that pure, unconditional love within, right? When we light workers, I'm going to say any title you want to give yourself. I feel like light worker is a nice broad one that includes like star seeds, mediums, Reiki masters, energy workers, anybody. We all work with light, right? So I say light worker because it just kind of lumps us all in. Us light workers, right? When we set the tone, when we have done all this amount of work on ourselves, we shine brighter. We turn up the light. That shifts our frequency. That has a ripple effect out to the collective and other people. And as we share and we keep ourselves bright, right? It gives others permission. We hold that space. We hold that space for growth, and it gives other people permission to do the same. And so what we're doing is we're actually sharing a gift for them to then find their personal power, to stand in their truth, to connect with their divinity and their guides, right? And so this is a beautiful thing that we do almost effortlessly. Of course I can have you sit down and we can do a Reiki session and I can, open up some chakras and channels and have you nice and balanced. But again, I do 10%. My client has to do 90%, and that 90% means finding your divinity, standing in that personal power, and then being empowered to then manifest and create things within your reality. And so I wanted to kind of give it a little shout out to all the light workers out there because we have turned it up. We've turned up these frequencies and vibrations really, really high. And with the veil being lifted right now, especially this time of year, and generally because of the shift on top of that, I mean, there are some serious things moving and shaking. I don't have to tell you guys definitely know that. But the beautiful thing is because as we do that, we share just by being ourselves with other people, it gives them the ability to find that within, and then they push out those frequencies and ripples out, right? And this is how the collective, right? How the collective works, how we all shift and share together, right? Which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, so with that being said, I really want to set my notes aside, and I just wanted to do a little bit of channeling with my guides. I wanted to see if there's anything else they wanted to say along these lines, or heck, maybe even anything else, who knows, just to kind of piggyback on any of that, because a lot of this information just kind of started coming to me from all different angles, and I was like, okay, clearly I need to talk about this. So let's see what they have to add. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so they're telling me that this is a time of the Great Awakening is what they're calling it. And a lot of us that are awakened, that have our light turned up and turned on, have had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of traumas. We've had to work through all of this stuff, right? To get to a place where we can recognize our divine light and then hold the space, right? And so what they're telling me is that that as more people shift, the load, I think, that we've been carrying will be lightened a little bit. But this is very important. They said that the brighter we shine, everyone, light workers especially, but anybody and everybody, the brighter we shine, right? The more, think of yourselves like a little flashlight. The brighter we shine, the more we cast out that light, and it is harder for things, lower vibrations, negative energy, negative people, to hide in the nooks and crannies, right? And so as we shine bright, all of those cracks and nooks and crannies where the guck and muck, used to reside, they're kind of being flashed out. They're kind of being exposed, I'll say. And it's making them uncomfortable, as it should. And what they're saying is like a typical tantrum, they will display their dislike and they will throw tantrums out. So they also said right now, in the next couple of weeks, really check yourself and do not react when somebody maybe attacks you, or it feels like that, an attack on you in any way, especially when it wasn't provoked. Out of randomly, maybe on social media, maybe online, you'll get randomly kind of attacked and you're like, what the heck? Where did this come from, right? Just know that the brighter you are and the more you have shifted and changed, the more you have fallen in love with yourself and the divinity that is you, it forces other people to look in the mirror, and it forces them to see the shadows within themselves, the ones that they aren't ready to deal with. And it's easier for them to make a scene. It's easier for them to be loud, right? I talk about that a lot. Just because you're louder doesn't mean you're being heard. And you can see a lot of people are being loud. They need that, their energy is in excess and coming from a place of fear. So they will be like, "Ah," just like a lion or something that's like trying to be like, back away, I've got babies to protect, right? They're like, it's no different than that. Okay, so be very, very aware. My guides are telling me, be very aware of this. Send them love and light. Do not respond, do not react. Be calm in those situations and just stand still, stand your ground and stand still for a second, and you will see all of a sudden they'll see and hear how ridiculous they're being, and it will force them to either continue being ridiculous and loud, which now that you're not reacting doesn't make sense to anybody or them. It'll force them to kind of step aside and evaluate and kind of do their own shadow work and work on that kind of thing for themselves. So again, what they're basically saying is hold the space. Hold the space. You don't have to react, right? Because that's going to shift your energy, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to do that. You don't have to react. You don't have to respond. You don't have to do anything. You can just stand still. You can just be there, right? And it's not that by turning on our lights we're attracting that. It's that we're actually pushing it out. So as our light is, we're actually pushing it away. And so as our lights become brighter, especially as we connect with each other through the collective shifts in energy, we're pushing that out, and there's not a whole lot of places left for them to kind of sit and stew. So that's kind of what they're explaining to me. Okay, let me see if they have more. So they're also saying there will be patterns that everyone will notice within themselves. You will catch them in your mind. There will be small patterns. There will be last bits of triggers and things like that we need to work on. And they're telling me, you're human. You have emotions. You have thoughts. You have feelings. It is totally normal for you to go through a healing process, feel like you've completed all that shadow work, and you're like, yeah, I did it. That trauma that I had, I've overcome it. I'm good. And then realize that it came up again. In a different format or different way. It is okay. Don't feel like that is a failure. Don't feel like that is you've been taking steps back. That's not it at all. Sometimes there's still lessons to be learned there that may help you grow. There may be more lessons that you need to learn to help someone else grow. So it's okay. But what they're saying is just pay attention to some of those patterns, because it'll give you a little bit of a clue if there's anything else that you need to kind of like dust off internally. You're like, oh, hey, there's some buildup. It's just like keeping your house clean. When you go to clean your house, it doesn't mean you're doing it because your house is filthy. You're doing it because you're trying to keep it clean. And so that's what they're saying. Like, look for those patterns. There's going to be some dust that's settled back down in those little nooks and crannies. And so you'll have to kind of go through those again. And they'll come up because as your light turns on and it's bigger and brighter and you push that light out naturally, not forcefully, just naturally, when we see somebody else react, it's like a mirror, right? We see ourselves, and so there's gonna be some of those patterns. All right, let's see what else they have to say. Okay, so this is really interesting. They're telling me that many things that we believe are truth are illusion, and that the more we stand in our personal power, and the more we are empowered, and the more we connect with ourselves, our higher selves, and our guides, the more we spot the illusion. And this can be very hard for some people to reprogram, and honestly, it's an internal conflict, because what they have learned and what they have taught and what they have been shown, they're realizing doesn't match, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't ring true to them anymore. And they may have been useful for a time, and they're just not useful concepts anymore. And so they're saying that that will be more apparent in the next few months than ever before. And they're telling me because of politics, because of weather patterns, because of illness and wellness. I think they may be referring to the pandemic. Those kinds of things, they are telling me that there are many, many, many illusions that will start to be very, very clear, especially the more awakened that you are. And again, to not react, just sit back and hold that space to allow other people to start recognizing them as well. Because when somebody is in that tunnel vision, 3D, lower frequency vibration, and they're operating out of fear and they're very reactive, to have that conversation is almost pointless. So to hold space, again, they have to discover it for themselves, just like we discovered our own personal power. Nobody can just give that to you, right? We can plant little seeds. We can hold the vibration for ourselves that ripples out and they can feel. And it kind of is like a wake-up call for their body and their energy. Be like, oh, why are they like happy little camper and I'm miserable, right? It's kind of like, but again, to push, right? Not to push anybody, not to push your beliefs, not to push your thoughts, not to push your views on anybody, that everybody is in a state where they're really starting to see things shift and change and they don't really know what to think anymore. And so it's okay, just hold that space and allow people time to soak everything in. Okay, so that's really all they wanted to add. And so they wanted to basically, and all those things, again, we're talking about power. They're kind of related, they're intertwined, because when you stand in your truth and your personal power, you don't feel the need to snap back, right? And so they're saying hold that space of truth and light and love. I hope whoever needed to hear this message, I feel like this was a very specific video, not as broad. I really feel and my higher self and my guides are telling me that there is, this video might not be popular for like the masses, but there were specific people that really needed to hear this message. So I don't know which part, or maybe it was all of it. So if you feel like this is for you, please comment below. I'd love to kind of connect and encourage you. But again, if this is the kind of stuff that you guys find absolutely interesting, if you walk away feeling good and empowered, I am so grateful for that. That is my purpose, to help shine light, to educate, to inspire, right? And I love being able to do that, and I'm grateful that I have you to do it with. So if this is the stuff that you like, please like and subscribe below, and I will keep making videos. All right, love and light, my friends.